Hi Maniza ji, it's my honor and pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you.
And I'm very, very excited to know our Prime Minister's horoscope from your perspective because, of course, we all know you have the background of Shri K.N. Rao and he has done so much research on all our Prime Ministers in the past. So, of course, there is a lot of authentic data that we can look forward for.
From 2001, when he became the CM of Gujarat, he ran the Dasha of Venus Mercury. And in 14, in Venus Mercury. So if you look at Venus Mercury, Mercury is the 11th Lord here, and Venus I've already explained in the nakshatra of the 10th Lord, Vargottama, with the aspect of the Kendras and this conjunction of Atmakarak and Amatyakarak. So Venus Mercury is when he first became the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And then came the Dasha of Surya, while he continued to be the Chief Minister, because from 2001 to 2014, he remained the Chief Minister of Gujarat. So Surya also repeatedly gave him this position where he won again and became the Chief Minister. Now in 2014, he ran the Dasha of Moon, Jupiter, and again Mercury, the Pratyantar Dasha of Mercury. Moon and Jupiter I've already explained, but here I will also tell you something. A very interesting principle of mundane astrology. Jupiter in Taurus. When Jupiter comes in Taurus, in the horoscope of independent India, it has come into the Lagna and conjuncts itself with Rahu in Lagna. When Jawaharlal Nehru went away, Jupiter was in Taurus. In 1977, when there was a revolution through ballot and Indira Gandhi lost her position, Jupiter was in Taurus. In 2014, after Congress and a new wave emerged and Modi ji became Prime Minister, Jupiter had just moved out of Taurus. So there is a revolutionary link to Jupiter in Taurus in the horoscope of India. Even in 1989, when VP Singh had won and Congress was sitting in opposition, Jupiter was in Taurus. 2014, when the mood of the nation changed and there was a revolution again through ballot, Jupiter was in Taurus. Jupiter had just moved out of Taurus. So there is a very interesting point that comes in this cycle with respect to the horoscope of India, Jupiter in Taurus. So that was an interesting point I thought I'd share here with you. So 2014, it was Moon, Jupiter, Mercury. I've mentioned that. In 2019, when he became the PM, he ran Moon, Venus and Rahu. Moon, Venus and Rahu are very, very clear. At that point in time, Rahu was transiting over the 9th house in Cancer. And that too was a very powerful transit. So if you see, in the Dasha of Chandrama, he became Prime Minister twice. Why? Because in the Dasha of Chandrama, which is placed in the Lagna, all the Raj Yogas came alive. This entire combination of Atmakarak, Amatyakarak, 10th and 11th, conjunct with the 11th, everything which was natally a promise became beautifully activated when he ran the Dasha of Chandrama, placed in Lagna as the 9th Lord, conjunct with the Lagna Lord. That in itself is Raj Yoga.
Okay.
And after the end of the Dasha of Moon, what has started now is the Dasha of Mars. From April end 2023, PM Modi runs the Dasha of Mars Saturn. He starts running the Dasha of Mars Saturn, which will continue till June beginning 2024. So which means elections will happen when this Dasha is in play. Now this is a slightly tricky and critical period for him because these are malefics in Kendras. I will share a principle that normally is not much accessible, or information, astrological principle that is not much accessible to people. Saturn in Jupiter's nakshatra. When Prime Minister Modi first became PM, Saturn was transiting in Jupiter's nakshatra Vishakha and Saturn was in Tula. That was a decisive moment for him. An absolute change, an absolutely decisive moment where life changed from Chief Minister when nobody had, probably people thought that, it was L.K. Advani, but I wouldn't say that he annihilated competition, but he just rose as the man who everybody wanted, for him to be in this position of power. In 2024, in April end, Saturn is again transiting Jupiter's nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapad, because Saturn is going to be in Aquarius. And the last 10 degrees of Aquarius are going to be Purva Bhadrapad nakshatra of Jupiter. And 3 degree 20 minutes will move into Pisces. So these 10 degrees of Purva Bhadrapad in Aquarius are going to be very, very critical for PM Modi, which means that there will be a tumultuous situation that will come up in the country. But the point is that the dasha he runs, he will again be PM. So that is something that I'm predicting on your channel, that in 2024, we again see PM Modi victorious and becoming Prime Minister once again, but it's not easy. It's tumultuous because the period is tumultuous when we see Mars, Saturn. And here's a hint, I'm not saying it fully. When Saturn transits through the nakshatra of Jupiter, which is happening just before the elections in 2024, that will be a very decisive point for him. But he is victorious. He will be PM once more. Yeah.
Wow.
This is an analysis of his chart that I wanted to share.
So a lot of accusation, Modi has to go through a lot of accusation. Like I think he centers hate and love equally, right from the beginning. I also want to know one thing from you, that does he have any, like people say that he used to be a renunciant and, he was a sadhu. Does he have any Mahapurush yogas or any sadhu yogas in his chart that indicate that?
See, there is definitely more than a shade. And I would say a lot of shades of a renunciate, but it is not the chart of a full renunciate. But there definitely are shades of a renunciate. A lot of people think that they have a spiritual streak while they don't, but this is like a genuine spiritual streak. Mars and Moon lead to detachment. Moon in the nakshatra of Saturn as the 9th Lord will lead to detachment. There are no two ways about it. And both of them being in the Sarpadreshkon. Remember Sarpadreshkon, planets in Sarpadreshkon are not good for a worldly life. But every time you look at, and this is a term which has often been, so often been used that it has lost its real, its real true meaning. Kundalini Jagran happens as well in planets, when important planets transit over natal planets in the Sarpadreshkon. Or that's a very, these are points that I normally don't discuss. But yes, so never overlook planets in Sarpadreshkon. And here it's the 9th Lord with the Lagna Lord in Sarpadreshkon. So it's, there is a lot of merit, there is a lot of truth in him having shades of a renunciate. There is no doubt about it.
Okay. So one more point I want to ask you about is that Sade Sati, the 7-year period of Saturn, is always feared. And people think that they will be punished and tortured and, suffer ill fate. But here is a man who became the Prime Minister of our country while he was going through Sade Sati, the 7-year period of Saturn. How did it pan out in his chart, and why did that make him the PM? Because of course, we know that Saturn is responsible for politics, and so is Sun. So how did it pan out in his case?
See, a lot of people rise and attain very powerful positions in their Sade Sati. Indira Gandhi was one of them. Lal Bahadur Shastri was one of them. So these are not things to be worried about. Why? Because when Sade Sati happens, then suddenly so much of pressure on work comes onto your shoulders that too is looked at as something that can really burden you. But it is a positive burden. Now, if you become the Chief Minister or the Prime Minister, then a lot of work will come your way and suddenly you will be burdened with a lot of stuff. But isn't that a positive thing?
Right.
So that's one way of saying Sade Sati cannot be bad. And when Prime Minister Modi started his Sade Sati, and I've said this, Saturn was transiting the nakshatra of Jupiter and Vishakha is in Tula. And Tula is one sign before Scorpio. When Saturn was in Tula or Libra, he started his Sade Sati. But for a Scorpio moon, Tula is also the exaltation sign of Saturn. So that cannot really be looked at as a bad Sadisati. But believe me, when Saturn would have crossed Scorpio, it would have given, it did give him a lot of grief, and that cannot be denied. Saturn over Scorpio did give him a lot of pressure, but that cannot be denied. But as I said, that there are examples of other prime ministers who gained office in Sadisati, because that gives you extreme responsibility, which also looks like it's almost like a burden. So that too. But yes, Saturn as the planet in the 10th house, posited in the 10th house, as the Kendra Lord, as the 4th Lord exalted. The 4th Lord is giving you the throne, the position. It's the Simhasan. So the exaltation of the 4th Lord in Tula, because Saturn exalts in Tula, that in itself is a very powerful yoga. It's the 4th, the Kendra getting exalted. So can't just look at Sadisati as common for everybody. That's one. And in this case, I've just explained to you how it benefited him.